I have a video on inactivity and how that is an actual cause of all sorts of diseases. But today we're going to talk about exercise in a very unique way. All it takes is just a little bit of exercise to produce significant health benefits. And I'm talking about lowering your risk for certain diseases and increasing your longevity, living longer. It doesn't take much exercise. So hopefully this video will inspire you to start exercising, doing some type of physical activity on a regular basis. Because exercise is the most potent natural medicine for living longer and countering diseases. And I'm going to recommend over time that you really work on establishing a fitness reserve, which correlates to a health reserve, that extra bit of health buffer to counter these stresses that come in on our body and affect us in a negative way. The more fitness you have in your reserve, it's like an abundance of fitness. All sorts of great things can happen. You become more flexible with your metabolism, your eating plan as well, and not have as much damage. In other words, you raised up your level of health to a certain degree where you can get away with more stuff versus other people don't have that luxury. And unfortunately, those are the people that tend to go off the program more often. So if you think about it, even if you're a smoker, even if you have chronic obstructive pulmonary disease or diabetes, or you're overweight or have high blood pressure, if you're exercising on a regular basis, those things are not nearly going to have a negative effect on your body if you have this fitness reserve. So check this out. Walking only 2 to 2.5 hours per week, not per day, per week, can give you a 20% lower mortality rate. Another study talked about exercising 11 minutes a day, giving you a 10% lower mortality rate. Here's another one called vigorous intermittent lifestyle physical exercise. Just by doing 3 to 4 short bouts of intense exercise, like roughly about a minute each, can give you a 40% lowered mortality rate. Now, if you were to beef it up to 11 bouts of this short, intense workouts, like a minute each, spread out through the day, it was calculated lowering your risk for cardiovascular disease by 65% and a decreased risk in cancer by 49%. So this is pretty cool because it's just short little bursts of exercise. So let's say, for example, you're in the basement of your house and you just use the stairs to run up and down the stairs a minute, right? And then you go to your office and do your whatever you're going to do. And then you come back and do it again and do it again. It can be any type of high intensity exercise. It can be just taking a break and doing some burpees or doing some push ups or sprinting up a hill. It's pretty easy. Anyone can do a minute workout and you just do it repetitively. Another study showed 10 to 59-minute workout every week, okay, just once a week, can decrease your mortality by 18%. So over and over and over, they've shown that it doesn't take much exercise to help you with your health. When you're exercising, you're doing a lot of interesting things to the inside of your body, especially your mitochondria, the energy factory of your body. You're increasing the size and numbers of your mitochondria, which happen to be behind most diseases. Most diseases are related to problems with your mitochondria, including cancer. So anytime you can strengthen your mitochondria, you can counter these diseases. The other thing that I'm going to recommend is if you have the option of going for a walk after you eat, if you've eaten carbohydrates in that meal, you have a chance to burn off those sugars, and then they don't affect you. And this is one of the ways that athletes can get away with eating more carbs, the amount of exercise. That fitness reserve really protects your body big time. And developing more fitness also improves your insulin sensitivity. So if you had insulin resistance at one time, developing more of a fitness reserve can greatly help your blood sugars and allow you to get to a place where your insulin now finally works. If you're struggling with like the dawn phenomena where you wake up with your blood sugars higher, well, one way to counter that is just to build up your fitness reserve. One thing I think that's really important is to find some type of fitness activity that you really enjoy, that you're going to do, that you're not going to procrastinate. For example, with me, I really enjoy climbing rope. But I'm 58 years old and I weigh like 188 pounds and I broke my left shoulder. I just can't quite do what I used to do with rope climbing, but I love it. It's a great workout. So I got something called the Relentless Rope Trainer, where I can mimic climbing rope and do a great workout. I'll do like 100 rope climbs in a row, and I'm good for an entire workout. I mean, it only took me like maybe 4, maybe 5 minutes, and it's a great workout. It works the entire upper body, the core, and cardiovascular at the same time. And I use that several times a week. Another thing that I'm using right now for flexibility training is not necessarily high intensity, but it's for stretching. It's called the mobility stick. It really helps to mobilize and add stretching of the upper and lower extremity, which can greatly enhance sleeping, stiffness, and stress, especially if you sit behind a desk most of the day. So I do a lot of research behind the computer all day. So that really comes in handy. So the point is, you want to break up your day by scheduled little bursts of exercise. And I would recommend even setting the timer to do that. So several times a day, if you can work yourself up to like 11, that would be the ideal situation. But, just several times a day is definitely good. The other point I want to make is that our bodies are constantly exposed to stress, and exercise keeps the stress off our body. One very unique tool that I use, heart rate variability technology, which I may have some information down below in the description. And this device could be used to help you figure out where you are on your fitness level, when you should exercise, how long you should exercise, when you shouldn't exercise, because it's all about measuring your stress and recovery cycles. And exercise is a controlled stress that you can add into the mix, and it'll help you determine the intensity of exercise, the volume of exercise, and your recovery of exercise. And HRV by itself is an independent predictor of mortality from heart attacks. Now, another thing that you can kind of add to this exercise is a sauna. If you have access to a sauna, if you have a sauna, if you can go somewhere to sit in a sauna and you do that 4 times a week, that can add a significant benefit. If you can also add intermittent fasting, huge benefits for increasing your longevity. Another thing that I personally like to do is get out in nature, go for hikes. I do that on a regular basis. If I would have known back then what I know now, I would have kept up this exercise and been very, very consistent. I would have been even healthier. If you have not seen my video on how inactivity could be the cause of certain diseases, check it out. I put it up right here. So if you're enjoying this content, go ahead and share it with someone that could really benefit from it.